Well, hello and thank you for joining me for another Alex on Tech and iTWire TV video interview. I'm joined today by Bill Lobig, the Vice President of IBM Apptio, and Pete Wilson, Vice President for IBM Apptio Business. Welcome to you both to the program.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time. Now, Bill, can we please start by recapping IBM Apptio's mission? And then Pete, can you share the value you bring to customers in Australia and globally in 2026?
Yeah, our mission is simple. It's to help our clients connect their technology investments to business value and have their arms around the total cost of ownership and how all of those technology investments are delivering return for their respective businesses.
And Pete?
Yeah, and the value conversation is really about, following on from Bill's point, how do we ensure that as customers spend billions of dollars of technology, that they're driving the right decisions for the right outcomes and ultimately getting that best investment for both them and their shareholders.
Now, these questions are to you both, so please feel free to jump in and add detail when you want to. But IBM's own 2025 CEO study found that just 25% of AI initiatives have delivered the ROI leaders have expected. I mean, even though ChatGPT's been around since November 30, 2022, we're still very early in the game. So before a CIO signs off on more AI spend, what's the one number they should be able to put in front of their board?
I personally don't think there is one number. It's more about how you're being intentional and deliberate and what your objective is and how you are measuring your incremental progress towards it. Yeah. I think, I'm seeing a lot of clients out there who are still very unclear on what that ROI is. The statistic is powerful, but it means 75% are not.
Yeah.
So it's, there is no magic number, but it's, what are you trying to achieve and pursuing that with very intentional and deliberate approaches versus just investing in AI because everyone else happens to be doing so as well.
Yeah, I like to say there's never a magic bullet solution. And also when we talk about ROI, of course, being a bit of a wordsmith, I like to say it's ROAI.
Yeah.
Any comments from you?
Yeah, and maybe to follow on from that,
yeah.
I think, to Bill's point, the lack of focus on the actual investment return, if I was to pick one area, I think that's the area that really organizations and executives need to start thinking more about.
Yeah.
Cost control is important, no question about it, but actually understanding the value and the return is equally as important, and as that statistic proves, we have a long way to go, and that to me is probably the more alarming part.
Yeah. Now the same study found that 64% of CEOs admit the fear of falling behind is driving them to invest before they understand the value. So how do you tell a real AI investment apart from one that's really just insurance against looking slow?
It's sort of this aligned to the thing I described earlier, which is why are you doing this? And for those that are focused on cost control, I see a lot of productivity measurement, which is for its kind of cost, productivity, then new lines of business and revenue streams and true digital transformation. But even when you look at productivity in the software engineering context, which is where I'd argue, and this is just pulling this out of air, 80% or so of AI investments are going to accelerating productivity and development and technology space. It's sort of, so what? Okay, I'm writing more code. Well, I personally think more code is a liability because you have to support it, maintain it, and secure it.
Debug it.
But you want to go faster.
Yeah.
And that's okay, but why? Why do you need more faster? And what is your core competency and what are you trying to achieve in your organization?
It's the whole thing, begin with the end in mind.
Yes.
Know where you're going, otherwise whatever your destination, you may get there, you may not, but without a plan, nothing happens.
Right.
Any comments from you, Pete?
Yeah, I think it is a trend that we are seeing globally. There is this view that I need to invest because others are investing without necessarily truly understanding why I'm investing. We saw it with public cloud many years back. We're seeing it at an exponentially high rate of knots with AI. And I think that's, again, the area where the focus needs to start shifting to be more about I'm not doing it just because others are doing it, and I'm not doing it because I just don't think I'm spending enough, but I'm doing it for a very purposeful reason.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've heard a lot over the past few months, we always talk about features and we talk about benefits, but a lot of people have been starting to explicitly talk about outcomes. Begin with the purpose in mind. What's the outcome you want to achieve? Without that, you're just throwing money up the wall. So KPMG's June 2026 survey found 35% of leaders name AI cost management, including making sense of token and inference pricing, as a barrier to scaling. That obviously relates to what we were just talking about as well. So when the meter runs on every token and every query, how does a finance team budget for a cost that shifts by the hour? And also, I just want to note here that we're going to have much more powerful on-device AI over the next 2 or 3 years. I'm not sure if all these investments in these massive data centers is going to be an overinvestment. We often have these overinvestments and then we have a crash because we're going to get powerful AI on our devices. These token costs will ultimately, it'll take a few years, but they'll disappear because you'll be doing it all in-house, on-prem, like with cloud.
I think this is where the power of what we've done in Apptio over the years and managing technology spend overall, including AI, which at the end of the day is just another technology spend, a profound and novel one that needs unique management and treatment. But it's really about, okay, I'm counting the tokens, that's fine. Everyone is claiming they're doing such a thing.
Yeah, but no more token maxing, right?
Planning, budgeting, and forecasting. There's a lot of analogies to cloud here. Earlier you talked about spend, right? Everyone thought they were going to save money on cloud. No one saved money on cloud. They spent more, but they received tremendous benefit of agility, elasticity of compute, all these things. Developer productivity. In AI, the same is true. It's not about just spending a bunch more, but if you get planning, budgeting, forecasting, and hourly is not a new thing. But I don't think people are there yet. They don't have their arms around it because we've spread the spend out. Every client of ours that has AI spend in our system is using on average 4 different AI tools. And I think they're really testing the waters. And this is where understanding the usage by who, for what reason, and then we can start to forecast and predict and be more intentional about it, is how those CFOs are going to manage and control this in the future.
Yeah, I know that I'm using, at least for AI tools, I have my Claude, which is an AI voice recorder. I use Claude, I use Gemini, and I... what's the other one? I'm trying to think now. Oh, of course, ChatGPT.
You should cancel that when you forgot what it was.
Well, actually, I only just resubscribed to it because of Image 2.0. I'm using Gemini, but I've just found that ChatGPT does a really good job with image generation, which is very handy in my line of work. But any comments from you, Pete, briefly? I know we're running out of time, so...
Other than you being the perfect AI customer. So I think the challenge that we're getting to, and again, we saw this in cloud, but in AI it's a little bit different, is you've really got to get down to the consuming level.
Yeah.
And that's the difficult part. So at the moment, it's not really that transparent about where the tokens are really going and coming from. It's becoming more transparent, but as that evolves and as that becomes more transparent, planning and forecasting has to get down to the actual usage level. And I'm not just talking about the process, the application of the workflow, I'm actually talking about the person that generated it. Because at the end of the day, it's individuals like yourself that are generating requests in these models that are consuming the tokens. And until we can understand the behavior and the way in which you use it, it's very difficult to forecast. So I think that's the area where we're going to have to change.
Yeah, for sure. Now, Bill, in June, you said technology is the engine of modern business, and Apptio's whole pitch is real-time visibility into spend. So how does Apptio turn a clear view of AI spend into proof that the spend actually moved a business result?
This is a great one, and actually I'm going to give this one to Pete to answer because it ties into a press release we did last week about a new solution named AI ROI and Value, and maybe you can talk about that.
And it should have been AI ROI.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah, so to Bill's point, we recognized probably 6 months back now that the cost was the focus, and cost control and cost explosion, and you've seen it in all the press articles, you've seen major organizations saying that, look, they burnt through an entire year's worth of budget in a month.
Yeah, by April or May, and the year's not over yet.
Exactly, and other organisations that have just blanketly said no more ChatGPT, right? We just can't afford it. So I think when we saw this notion, we started to think heavily more around, okay, so there's the value conversation that's not being had. So, to Bill's point earlier, we just launched the value and ROI solution, and what that's designed to do is work in conjunction with our total cost of ownership solution for AI to say, first of all, you need to understand the total cost. It's not just about the tokens and the GPUs and the cloud cost, it's also the labor and everything that goes with it. Once you understand that, then you can start having a conversation about business value. So we've built a generic framework that we're starting to evolve on, which will allow organizations to say, this initiative designed to do this expected to get this, buy this, and allow them to track it. So then that allows an organization to say, I spent X million on AI initiatives, my expectation of return was Y, and I'm actually getting Z. So it's that focus and value and cost that we're starting to work on now. And we refer to it internally as our AI cost and value management solutions, and that's the double down that we're going to be focusing on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the next question continues on that vein. You know, you just shipped conversational insights and container level cost tracking built on the Cube cost technology that you bought in 2024. So what is the most common blind spot in an Apptio's customer's AI bill that they had no idea was there?
That's a good question. Most common blind spot.
Is there a common blind spot?
I don't.
Yeah, it's like with Word.
There's
Everyone
many
uses,
blind spots. I don't
Yeah.
know how common each of those are.
Yeah.
I mean, it sort of depends on, you know, what is the saying? It's in the eye of the beholder. You know,
Yeah.
it's what is important to them, and are they measuring it effectively based on those things. You know, when you talk about Kubernetes and kube costs, that's an example. I wouldn't call it a blind spot, but it's an example of where, like AI, novel approaches are required because the technology is unique in how cost is implicated, right? Because containers, you talked about real time and hourly.
Yeah.
You know, I read a statistic some years ago. I won't cite it because I don't remember from where, but I think it's relatively true. 50% of containers live less than 5 minutes. Some are in seconds. Initialization. How do you allocate costs to these kinds of very transient, ephemeral things? AI is different, but similar in that way.
Yeah.
And so I think the blind spot is really, let's talk about tokens for a moment. Not all tokens are created equal. In fact, what we observe in our data and our use cases, just amongst the 3 cloud providers, and that's not even the direct frontier model providers, there's 26 different types of tokens. Many of these are not even exposed to users in a way that they can understand or discern or know.
Yeah.
And the workload is very determinant of the cost, and all these tokens have different. So I'm kind of going down this rabbit hole now, but the point is, like, there are a lot of blind spots, and I think that visibility and insight and how you make sense of it all, that's really what we do and what we're specializing on and what we're helping all our clients achieve.
Yeah. Well, just to continue what I was saying before, you know, you're talking about, Pete, is there really a common blind spot? It's like Microsoft Word. We all use 10 or 20% of the features, but everyone uses a different, you know,
exactly.
After the first 10%, we always use a different 10%. And then with blind spots, you said the eye of the beholder. Well, obviously it's the AI of the beholder.
Yeah. The one area that I
should have thought of that.
Yeah. The one area that I would probably...
You'll never forget now.
that I would probably comment on, I mean, call it a blind spot, but when I do talk to customers and they look at the AI bill, really being able to understand how much of that AI bill is on development, learning of the models, training of the models, how much actually gets into production. Because one of the alarming statistics we often see is a significant amount of the AI spend actually never makes it into production.
Well, that's all those pilots that MIT says were failing. Although we're getting past that now, finally. You know,
I think on that point, there's another dimension as well. Yes, to the pilots and such, but there's this. People are getting, particularly in knowledge work. I mean, engineering and code generation is a very natural for that persona, that group. But for others, they're kind of kicking the tires, if you will. What can I do? What is possible? Yeah. And you have like kind of this spike of experimentation. Then you settle in like, oh, this is how I'm going to use the thing. Yeah. And then it kind of plateaus out.
The plateau of productivity.
Yes.
And have we reached the trough of disillusionment yet with AI? I mean, or has AI enabled us to get past that? Because it's you know, this time it really is different.
I think
I don't know.
I think be a brave person to say we're there yet.
Yeah.
I think we're still riding the hype wave.
Yeah, that's right. Now, KPMG found leaders with strong cost visibility are 5 times more likely to hit a return. Again, we're talking about this right now. Yet only 7% say they've actually established one. So if visibility were enough on its own, why are so many companies that consider AI costs still not making them pay? And I guess we just spoke a bit about this, but let's go.
I'll use the engineering token productivity as an example, as I mentioned earlier. You have great visibility. Your developers are generating 10 times as much code per human, and the tokens are, you know, worth it. Based on what? You know, back to like, what are you truly measuring? How has your customer satisfaction score improved? How has your call center ticket deflection improved? How has your human augmentation improved in different, functional areas where LLMs can generate. editorial in publications and journalism. I mean, the list goes on. Yeah. These are the things that matter for the businesses that are applying these techniques. And that's the kind of visibility you need to really answer that question. I suspect that far fewer actually are there.
Now, Bill, you're in Australia for Apptio's APAC user conference, where local CIOs are weighing how fast to move against how tightly to govern cost. So what are Australian organisations getting right and wrong? You might have some ideas as well on this, Pete, on AI cost governance next to the US and Europe.
I'll let Pete take this one since he's here.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't think we're doing anything right or wrong that's different.
We're still exploring and learning, right?
We are, and we have the benefit of having customers across all geos of the world.
Yeah, it's a big company. And
honestly, the trend is the same. I'm not seeing Australia leading or lagging, to be honest. I think we're riding the same wave of hype. I think we're riding the same wave of experimentation, and we're certainly riding the same wave of cost before value. Yeah. So I don't. To be honest, in this example, we're not seeing the difference. The one area that I do have a slight variance in conversation when we have is there is a little bit more of an interest on the value conversation with the CIOs that I have here. Yeah. Maybe that's just because of the cost pressures and the budgets, in some cases being a little bit less, but it's very similar.
Yeah. And the good thing about a conference is people come together, share ideas, hear what other people are doing.
Everyone's trying to figure this out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Together.
Yeah. Now, KPMG says the share of firms running multiple coordinated AI agents doubled to 18% in a year, and every agent adds more billable calls. So as firms wire up fleets of AI agents that all cost money to run, what gives way first, the budget or the way that we account for it?
The way that we account for it.
100%.
100%, yeah. Right now, largely I hear people want to count individual, I keep using the word token, but I'll just call it AI attribution to people. Yeah. Because they're using the tools in a personal productivity scenario or some directly attributable. When you get into agentic flows and these supplant traditional workflows and operating models, it becomes a shared cost across. Now, that's what we do. We help make assumptive to consumptive based on shared technology, but AI is going to introduce a whole other paradigm and set of considerations on how that's done accurately.
Now, before we finish, don't give me your final message yet because I'll ask you at the end. Mm-hmm. But what else does someone watching or listening to us right now need to know about Apptio that we haven't already yet discussed?
Can you take it, Pete?
So I think most importantly that we are the market leader in both IT financial management and FinOps. Both the Gartner surveys and the Forrester surveys put us as market leadership in both. We coined both of these markets. And then probably also most importantly is that we are here and demonstrate every day that we can return value back to organizations that need to adjust their budgets, shifting from run to grow to the business. Every organization is faced with cost pressure, needs to do more with the same or more with less. That is what we do. We are the market leaders at it, and we spend every day of our life and across the world in our teams doing that for businesses.
One thing I would add to that, we are not a consumption tool, a cost allocation tool. A lot of people think of it that way because that's where their level of maturity and achieving the outcomes ends. We are a financial management tool that transcends the spectrum from low cardinality, high fidelity, fast moving consumptive data that needs to be managed on a day-to-day or even hourly basis, all the way to your fully burdened total costs, including everything, properties, real estate, facilities, labor, vendor, SaaS, all in. And when only then do you get the true total economic value of your technology investment. And I think that that's important to emphasize because there's so much just like token counting or basic kind of concepts out there, but those aren't really answering the financial questions that business leaders have and bridging what has always been a challenge between CIOs and technology leaders and business and finance leaders so they can speak from a common language and understanding of each other.
Yeah. Well, that's why this is one of my favorite questions because it gives you the chance to, we answered all these other questions, but what else have we missed? And that's a really good summation from you both. Now, I've got a couple of final fun questions. I'd like to ask each of you if you could please share a memory of your first personal computer. And Bill, let's start with you.
Commodore 64. I remember.
How old are you?
How old am I? I don't know.
They came out in 1982,
Okay.
and you can actually still buy one of those today, brand new, with an FGPA array, compatible with all the disk drives and tape drives and everything. So it still lives.
It
in
actually is what
2026.
got me into computing and technology. I used to sit there, with the 5 1/4 or whatever,
Yeah, floppy,
and program these little, what do they call them, sprites at the
Yeah,
time, like
yeah,
the 8-bit or maybe it's probably 2-bit or something. I had like a balloon bouncing across, and this is amazing.
Yeah. Kids today have got no idea how far we've come.
Yeah.
I really have no idea.
Yeah.
And my first computer was in 1979, which was before the Commodore 64 and the IBM and all that sort of stuff. So,
Yeah, those are good memories.
It's amazing. And Pete.
Well, you might laugh at this one,
Yeah.
but I actually built my first personal computer.
Oh,
Very
you had to
good.
one
Yeah.
up me.
So my brother at the
Commodore
time,
63.
it was called a K-Pro 64.
Yeah. Yeah.
My brother, who was a little older than me at the time, was doing work experience at a computer store, and he basically was able to just take spare parts. So we built the box out of plywood, and we put in the floppy disks, and we put in the green screen, and we put in the power and everything else. And yeah, that was my first computer, a K-Pro 64, and literally in a wood box.
Oh, there you go. Shades of Steve Wozniak there. The Apple I was in a wooden box too.
Yeah, and we've still got it at
Oh,
home.
well, there you go. Probably worth a fortune nowadays.
Oh, I'm not sure it still works.
You never know.
but-
Well, you never know. There's always the Computer History Museum in Santa Clara that might one day want to take a donation. I've been there a few times, and it's always great to see all the ancient tech there. And the there was this huge, I think it was from IBM actually, the first hard disk, just giant thing with pneumatic things popping in and out. And one of the original people that worked on it is still there to give talks about it today, 50 years later, and just incredible. Now, my second last question is to ask both of you if you could please share some of the best advice that you've received in life to help you each get where you are today. And look, Pete, we'll start with you this time.
2 pieces of advice. One was from my father.
Yeah.
If you never ask, you never know. So never be afraid to ask just because you don't know. Never be afraid to say you don't know. So that was great advice. I live by that every day from my dad. My second one was a mentor I had when I was much younger. And he actually suggested to me, take up golf. And I'm like, why? And he says, because if you can learn the mental game of golf, there's no one who will frustrate you in a boardroom. And I will tell you, I took up golf, I wasn't very good. And yes, learning how to go from hole to hole, when you've had a bad hole to the next hole to a bad hole, and being able to level set that mental, it did teach me that mental mindset muscle. So, and I still use that today.
There you go. And my twist on your original point is that if you don't ask, the answer is always no.
Exactly.
So you've got to ask.
Exactly.
And Bill?
Yeah, I think maybe it's more of a concept, but work ethic and earning and working hard and being honest, some core characteristics I live by. To Pete's point, don't be afraid to ask. Maybe these are some cliche kind of things, but I think they work. Like, don't be a know-it-all, be a learn-it-all. And I personally have an insatiable curiosity of just how things work. And I think that mixed with some vulnerability, it makes for good leadership, because you show a personal interest, you're trying to appreciate and understand, and I think it makes you more well-rounded and gives you good perspective.
So my final question is to ask if you could please share your final message to the viewers, listeners, and readers. And Bill?
Look, I think that financial management is always going to be an important thing. Apptio is the leader in it. We founded these markets. We're the founding member of the Tokenomics Foundation. We didn't talk about that, but we're pace setting for where the technology horizon takes us on this. And most importantly, our commitment to our clients to help them achieve their outcomes and understand where all these technology investments are going and why. That's what we wake up every day trying to solve for.
Yeah. And Pete?
Try not to get wrapped up in the hype. There's a lot of hype going on at the moment, and it's distracting. And if you're trying to run a core business, and if you think of the hype of AI, AI is on average 15% of your technology bill. Technology is 15 to 20%, depending on your business, of your overall company bill. So there's a lot of things in business that you've got to get right. Technology is one of them. AI is certainly now one of them, but you've got to keep balance on everything.
Well, Bill Lobig, the Vice President of IBM Apptio, and Pete Wilson, Vice President for IBM Apptio Business. Thank you so much for taking the time. I'd like to note that you cannot spell Apptio without AI. And I look forward to speaking with you both again in the future. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.